I'll tell you, that cheese rocks, doesn't it? I am worried about the consequences of eating too much cheese, though.
Sports tourers don't have to be boring. Just ask the new Tracer 9 GT and Mr. Chris Moss.
Right, I find myself in Tamworth. Ooh, the glamour, I hear you say. I'm heading off to Wales on this, the Tracer 9 GT, one of Yamaha's new 2021 models. It's one of their most important bikes. They've sold 63,000 Tracer 900s to date, and they're hoping that this does just as well and continues the successful theme. 90% of it is new. Let me get on it and get underway and head off to Wales. We're going for 2 days to do about 350 miles. I'll tell you more about it en route. I've clearly arrived. Look at that. Oh yeah, it's quite exciting actually. It feels light, and yeah, the motor, it's a triple, so there's lots of nice sound. We'll come to that in a minute. It's sort of pretty flexible, and better still, when you get to about £7 grand, there's a bit of a rush that gives you the horn, like the buttons. Instant difference in suspension setup between A1 and A2. They're preset. I don't know if there's any sort of fine tuning you can do between them. I suspect not. You have to get your hands dirty to adjust the preload. More of that later. 4 engine modes, 2 suspension settings, quite a few traction control settings, but I wasn't given any instruction on how to use them. And as the cliche says, the controls fall easily to hand. I've not really had to do too much thinking. 2 clocks. That one gives you basic info, trip, bike temperature, ambient temperature, average speed 42.9 miles. 42.9. No, in fact I said that correctly. It's fuel consumption. This trick here is just the job. I mean, Jesus, why isn't it that easy on all bikes, I ask you? Yeah, some of that's very obvious is the excitement factor. This is a bike that just grabs you straight away. You do not have to warm to this bike. I can't get my feet flat on the floor, but it's certainly not too high. I think and it is adjustable. Another important point, Yamaha are stressing that this is not an adventure bike. It's got 17-inch front wheels. I've said that again. 17-inch wheels front and rear, and just normal travel suspension. It's not to be taken on the dirt like. I liked it just leaving Tamworth, and now I really like it. I can just sort of see the potential of this thing. Good at, in fact, very good at so many things. I think we've made someone's day there. Could do with a shite.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chris Moss, half pissed on just 1 bottle of beer.
Dear one, as they say in the Big Brother household. We're in Wales now, and after something like 150 miles, I guess, I pronounce myself very happy with this here motorcycle. In fact, you know what? I could have done that after about 5 miles. It's the sort of bike that you sort of, it just gets under your skin and makes you like it straight away. It's a fun, light thing. Love the engine, really peppy. It just feels as though it's got a fuller power delivery. It's just on the throttle a bit more readily wherever you are in the RPM range. RPM range is what I should have said. Love how flickable it is as well. It's just easy in all scenarios. You know, we trundled through town to begin with in Tamworth, where the traffic was a bit heavy, then got into Wales and started going a bit faster, and it was equally content. This is a bike that can do everything really quite well, but it's not a boring all-rounder. This is a bike that can do everything and a bit more. Once you spin that motor and it picks up at about £7,000, you go, well, hey, we're off for a bit of fun here, you know. It will party when you give it a bit of abuse. Hard to knock in terms of comfort, in terms of practicality. This is the GT model. It's got panniers as standard. It's got electronic suspension as standard. So at the press of a button, you make it comfy or hard and ready for it. It's got heated grips, which I appreciated today because it was a bit wet, as it is in Wales. It's got to me, you know. I've had a great day on it, and I loved the authenticity of the test today. Rode it on the sort of roads that you and I and everyone else who rides in the UK are going to ride. This was a very realistic, authentic test, and I warmed to it for that. Okay, it rained and became very wet in a few places for quite a while. Didn't quell or quash my enthusiasm for this bike at all. But I like the fact that though it's good for going to Tesco or Timbuktu, you choose, it's also good for doing a bit of sporty stuff. If you rode this on a track day, you would not be last, I'm guaranteeing it. We should be in Spain. I don't care that we're not, because this is much more real world than a trip after a flight in the heat on roads that you just don't normally ride on in a completely alien landscape, really. I do believe I'm chuntering on a bit there. Fucking start, you bastard. Stand down. I've only been doing this for 40 odd years. See you, Nick. All the best. Nick Sanders, lovely man. We stopped at his gaff last night. Ogling at his wife. But we won't go into that. I had a few too many fancy gins last night at Mr. Saunders' place. So if I was lapping any circuit, it would be about plus 5 seconds. Now, just a couple of things. This is an information bulletin. Riding position is adjustable. You've got facility to change the bar position, the footrest position and the seat height. This screen, which I've mentioned but I like, so I'll mention it again. You just do that to flick up and down. Yeah, this bike, like many others, has got a 6-axis IMU. Controls things like cornering ABS, cornering traction control, wheelie control, and a few other things that I've forgotten. I think it's fair to say that Wales is a bloody good place to ride a motorcycle. I mean, look, it's been raining, but I'm on good tyres here, especially made for this here motorcycle, Bridgestone T32s. And because it rains a lot, the roads get washed and clean, and as a result, they're very grippy. And the scenery, as you can see, is bang on. Right, as we're having a trundle, I'll tell you what's new on this bike. 90% of it is new. The engine is bigger by 42cc, so it's got more mid-range power and torque. The styling is different, the frame and swinging arm is different, the wheels are different, the tyres are new, the braking system is different. In short, it's a very, very different bike to the one it replaces. There's two versions of the Tracer. There's the standard version and the one we're riding, the GT. The GT is £12,202, which makes it £2,000 more than the standard version. But for the extra, you get Lecky suspension, you get panniers, you get heated grips, and a few other little trinkets like a up and down quick shifter. And I think, and it depends on the depth of your pocket of course, that you're definitely getting value for money from that extra £2,000. The only thing that I'd have a moan about is the seat height's a bit tall for me and the steering lock's a bit pants. as a former dispatcher, stuff like that is important to me. But I mean, overall, it's a bit of a 9.5, I think. Really do enjoy it. Tilbridge, how much for those bikes? 50p? 50 bloody p? Are you having a laugh? It's a bit rickety. Oof. In fact, I've been advised to get in the car lane and stand up a bit. So we will. Is it in the lowest position? So, because you can adjust the footrests up and down and the seat up and down, you can get the right knee bend. Yeah, you can't adjust the preload of that there rear shock without getting your hands dirty. You have to bend down and do all that sort of larky. And for anoraks, I may tell you that the first and second gears are taller than before. Over. Now the old Bridgestones get pretty high marks as well, actually. I mean, we've ridden them on all sorts of roads in all sorts of weathers, and I've not really noticed them. And that is the best compliment you can pay, really. I'm going to show you what I like most about this engine. I like the fact that it pulls in big gears without too much revving, but I like it when you do this. Fucking drain is a bit fucking dodgy. Gotta be fucking careful here. Really like this motor when you rev it. You don't have to, but it bloody delivers some meat and motion when you do. And it sounds great too. They tuned it specifically to sound rorty, and I think they've hit all the right notes. I mean, look, it's not an R1 in terms of engine and chassis performance, but you can hustle it. And the best thing is you can go a long, long way to the hustle point in complete comfort and serenity. It's a bloody good motorbike. The end. Yeah, this bike has really surprised me. At first I thought 12,202 quid, that's a bit pricey for what I expected what to be a bit of a sort of basic feeling bike, but it's super well equipped, the equipment works well, and I've just done a couple of really good days on it that make me really disappointed to give it back. I reckon the engine is the best bit. It pulls in big gears, it gets a bit giddy from 7 upwards. It's usable, it's friendly. The biggest compliment I could pay is if I had 12 grand to spend, this bike would be very high, if not at the top of the list of bikes to consider. Can't admit to having a massive experience on Tracer GTs, but the last one I rode didn't feel quite as complete and as composed as this. I think all the changes they've made to the bike have just taken it to that next step up. That sounds a bit naff.
Where is it?
It's in Lisa's office. Right, we're just back from a near 350 mile 2-day ride round Wales. Sometimes it was sunny, but a lot of the times it was wet. But that did not suppress my enjoyment of this bike. Now, I thought I'd like it. It's up my street. It's one of these versatile, do anything, anytime type bikes. What surprised me is just how much I enjoyed it. I reckon it's going to be a real hit for Yamaha. I think they will sell tons of the buggers. I mean, what I really like about it is the fact that it can just turn its hand to anything. I mean, we're on motorways, we're on dual carriageways, we're on proper twisty back roads, we're on narrow single track roads, wet, dry, in towns, you name it. Bike felt good to go every single time. This is a bike that does towns and track days and everything in between just as well. I mean, there's so much to like the motor, really like the way that you can manage it and chuck it about. It never feels too big or unwieldy even in the wet, even on shitty narrow gauge roads. Brakes, tops. Weight steers, very nice. Clocks, so much info, it's untrue. I reckon they could probably tell you what's running at the 330 at Kempton on a good day. Great sound, pretty stylish. There isn't much not to like, really. All right, the 4 things I'm not super keen on. Euro 5 cat box under the engine. It's massive, it's ugly. I've seen smaller wheelie bins, I'll tell you. The panniers, I don't quite like the shape of them. They hold a helmet each and they're very practical and very sensible and all that sensible stuff, but I don't like the shape, they're too deep. I don't like the turning circle so much. It's just not quite as tight as it needs to be in traffic. And the seat height's a bit tall for me. I know you can adjust it, but even on its lowest setting, it's a bit much for me. But that's because I left the womb as a midget. Who's editing it? You're editing? No. Yeah, sorry, yeah. I forgot who I'm doing it for, yeah. He's got everything he needs, hasn't he?
All right, Al.
Fucking hell. Alan, you're not Alan even, you're Alistair. It's been a long, hot day. You're doing the Andalusian rally at the moment, so hopefully we find you having had a lovely rally by the time you look at this. Love you!